In rural South Korea, a tiger tamer and former dancer named Young returns from work and brings food to his daughter Sway. The only problem is that the girl has become a zombie after being infected with a pathogen that has spread throughout the country. Months ago, Sua was a normal teenager, and like her father, she also loved to dance. On her birthday, Young makes a special lunch and tells his daughter to get her present from the sofa, new headphones, and discount coupons for the amusement park. The girl rushes to unwrap the gift when she sees a couple of neighbors acting strangely outside. At first, it looks like the two are dancing the waltz, but suddenly the woman attacks her husband and devours his neck. Frightened, Young and Sua hide behind the sofa, but the woman advances toward the house and tries to break in, banging her head against the window. With great effort, the woman manages to break the glass, but ends up falling head first onto the living room floor. Young then pushes the sofa, trapping the woman against the wall, and goes to Sue, who has just seen news on the internet about a zombie outbreak. The two decide to flee the house along with their cat, Meow Meow, and look for the police. But as soon as they leave the house, they find the street infested with the zombies. To make matters worse, the phones aren't working. So-ing has the idea of returning to Yubing, his hometown, and taking refuge at his mother's house, Mrs. Kim. However, they still have to get past the zombies, who upon seeing the two begin to approach, ready to devour them. Young tries to think of a way to escape until Sua starts imitating the unliving, screaming and writhing like them. Thanks to her dancing skills, the girl manages to fool the zombies, and her father decides to do the same. However, the two get carried away with the dancing, and the zombies soon realize the whole charade. All that's left is for father and daughter to escape, but Sway ends up tripping on the floor, and an elderly zombie advances toward her. To save the girl, Young stands in front of his daughter and stretches out his arm, receiving the bite. Luckily, the old woman was wearing dentures and Young is not infected, but the zombies continue to approach. The only way to escape is by vehicle, and Young tells Sua to wait in the parking lot while he goes out to get a car. Using traffic signs, he manages to get past the zombies without being bitten and gets into one of the cars. Young then goes to get his daughter, and the two speed off down the road. Once they are far enough away, Young celebrates their escape, but he notices that Sway is not feeling well, and she reveals that she was bitten by an infected child. Unfortunately, the pathogen spreads quickly, and as soon as Sua becomes a zombie, she attacks her father. Young protects himself, but ends up losing control of the car, which crashes into a wall. Even with the impact, Sway attacks her father once again, but he manages to trap her face in the hood of his coat. Soon after, Young holds the girl using the seat belt, but she resists and ends up hitting her head against the dashboard, becoming unconscious. Hours later, Young arrives at his mother's house, but she has not yet returned from the city. So, he leaves his daughter trapped in the living room. As soon as Mrs. Kim returns, he asks his mother not to come in yet as Sway is sick, but she goes in anyway as she is eager to see her granddaughter. Unaware of the zombie outbreak, Mrs. Kim finds the living room in disarray and sees Sway looking unfriendly. The woman becomes enraged and orders her granddaughter to tidy up. But the girl no longer has control over her actions and advances toward her grandmother. Unfortunately for her, the old woman turns out to be a martial artist, and using her cane, she knocks the zombie down with a single blow. After this commotion, Young tells her everything that happened and shows her a TV report with the government talking about the zombie outbreak. As a safety measure, the authorities demand that the population stay away from anyone infected. In addition, anyone who tries to hide a zombie in their home will be considered a criminal and will receive severe punishment from the Korean army. Despite this, Young does not intend to abandon his daughter. And the next day, he takes the girl to the hospital to ask for help. However, when he gets there, he finds a crowd surrounding an injured nurse who has been attacked by a zombie boy. The mother tries to explain that she came to seek treatment for her son, but a group of armed soldiers appear. The woman asks them not to attack her son, but the young man ends up biting his own mother, forcing the soldiers to eliminate both of them. Seeing that there is no way to ask for help, Young takes Sua back and decides to end his daughter's suffering. He then ties her to a tree, picks up a shovel, and prepares to deliver the final blow, but at the last second, he hesitates. His mother then decides to do it, but Young stops her, and the two begin to argue with Sua taking the chance to break free from the tree. Soon after, she runs out the door with Young and Kim chasing after her before she infects anyone else. After a long search, they can't find her anywhere, but Young believes the girl has gone to a special place. They then arrive at an old house near the port where Sway used to play with her grandmother when she was a child. Upon seeing his daughter there, Young suspects that even though she is infected, the girl still retains her memories of the past. To test this, he turns on his cell phone and plays Sway's favorite song. And upon hearing the song, she begins to dance to the rhythm. After that, Young and Kim take her back home and begin to research more about the pathogen. According to scientists, there is a possibility that the pathogen will lose its strength if those infected are able to access their memories. Upon learning this, Young is willing to make his daughter return to normal. But suddenly, someone knocks on the door. On the other side is Dong Bi, his childhood friend, who is happy to see him again and asks to talk to Sway. Young tries to stop him, but the man enters the house and comes face to face with the girl who has been transformed into a zombie. Frightened, Dong tries to notify the authorities, but Young stops him, saying that he intends to find a cure for his daughter by helping her remember her humanity. Even though he doesn't think it's a good idea, Young agrees to keep everything a secret and promises to help his friend. In the following days, the two take Sua to an island where Young sets up a training program to teach the girl to control her hunger and act more humanely. Despite the difficulties, Sua begins to show results, obeying Young's commands and curbing her appetite with normal food. However, the situation of the infected is getting worse every day as the government is offering rewards to anyone who locates the zombies. Thanks to this, the infection rate has decreased dramatically over time, leaving Sway as the only zombie in the entire country. On another day of training, Young brings food to Sway. But in a risky move, he leaves his arm exposed as he wants to see how his daughter will react. To his surprise, the girl manages to control her impulse and does not attack her father, which makes Young very proud. With this progress, he decides to teach the girl simple words, and Mrs. Kim suggests taking her for a walk as Sua needs to get used to interacting with other people. Before that, it is necessary to disguise her pale skin and the signs of infection spread by the blood. So, Yoon goes to town to buy makeup items when he sees Yayan, an elementary school teacher and his former teenage crush in the distance. She also recognizes Ing inside the store, and even though he tries to hide, Yayan goes to talk to him and is happy to see him again. She even offers him a ride and on the way asks him about his life, if he is married, and if he has had children in the meantime. However, Young asks her to stop the car and gets out in the middle of the road, afraid that she will find out about his daughter's situation. However, Dong finds out about the meeting between the two and decides to help his friend by calling Yayan to meet them at a restaurant without him knowing. Later, Ing is talking to Dong and is surprised to see Yayan again. She tries to strike up a conversation, saying that she already knew about Sua and didn't know that Young had a daughter. Yayan says she wants to meet her, but Ing replies that his daughter has a special condition and it is recommended that she be kept isolated for a while. The conversation continues until the newspaper reports on the end of the zombie outbreak and that very soon the country will be able to return to normal. Upon learning this, Yayan is very pleased as she harbors a deep hatred for the unliving ever since her fiancé turned into one. This only makes the atmosphere at dinner even more tense, and Young hurries home, where he finds Sua watching TV. At that moment, she notices a commercial for an amusement park, which was one of her favorite places as a child. This gives Young an idea, and the next day he goes to talk to Dong, asking for his help in taking the girl there. He believes this could be a good opportunity for Sua to recover more of her memories. Even though he thinks it's dangerous, Dong agrees, and Young goes to tell his mother the news, only to find Mrs. Kim having dinner with Yayan. Young is stunned, and things only get worse when Sua leaves the room and heads for the bathroom. Yayan tries to talk to the girl, but Yoon stands in front of her and tells his daughter to go back to her room, saying that she doesn't get along very well with strangers. However, from the other side of the door, Yayan hears the girl's heavy breathing, followed by sounds that are very reminiscent of a zombie. The teacher begins to find all this very suspicious, and Ing then takes her out of the house, which only makes Yayan more suspicious. Another day passes, and Ing prepares to take his daughter to the park, where there will be a cosplay presentation. Thanks to this, no one will notice that Sway is infected, and Kim makes sure that the girl will be presentable, changing her clothes and applying makeup to her face. Minutes later, Dong goes to meet Young, wearing a costume of the mighty Thor, the god of thunder. Soon after, Mrs. Kim introduces Sway, who, thanks to her grandmother's work, looks like a completely normal girl. The three then head to the park, while Kim goes to a meeting of the townspeople. Once there, the town representative announces that Yubong has received an award as the town that has been free of infected people for the longest time. Kim is nervous to hear this, as she knows she is keeping her zombie granddaughter hidden at home. Despite her efforts to keep it a secret, one of the residents says she has not seen Kim's granddaughter leave the house and suspects she is infected. The woman tries to cover it up, saying she keeps her granddaughter at home because of her mental health, but Yayan, who also came to the meeting, doesn't believe it. At the same time, Young and Dong make sure Sua has fun, and the girl's father tries to help his daughter remember when they went to the park years ago. Sua, however, can't remember anything, and Young is about to give up hope when Dong tells his friend he has great news. Apparently, the pharmaceutical industry is close to approving a cure for the zombie outbreak. And very soon, Sua will return to normal. Young is so thrilled by the news that he doesn't notice when Sua gets up from the bench and disappears into the park. Desperate, Young runs after his daughter, who is attracted by a familiar smell and ends up at a churros stand. The girl takes one without paying, and the vendor runs after her with Young finding his daughter in the middle of the commotion. He is relieved to see that Sui is fine and takes the money to pay the vendor when for the first time Young hears his daughter say the word churros. This moment makes Young cry with emotion as he realizes that little by little, his daughter is regaining her humanity. Meanwhile, Mrs. Kim returns home to find Yayan waiting for her, saying she already knows the whole truth. She threatens to call the authorities to report the infected girl, but Kim stops her, saying that Sui is all Young has left. She then reveals that the girl is not his biological daughter, but his niece, who was adopted after the perishment of Hai, his sister. Years ago, on his birthday, Young left Sui at home while he went out to celebrate the night with friends, including Dong and Yayan. However, in the middle of the celebration, Hai called, saying she was bringing a birthday cake and hoped to find him at home with their daughter. Young quickly left his friends and returned home, but Hai was involved in a car accident and did not survive. Overcome with guilt, Young took custody of Sui, while Lee, her real father, ran away with his mistress, taking his daughter's insurance money with him. Shortly after hearing the whole story, Yayan sees Young, Sui, and Dong returning from the park. The teacher then picks up a wooden sword and threatens to eliminate the girl, knowing that Sui is no longer human. She then moves to attack her, but Young steps in front of her and takes the blow, which infuriates Soa, and she tries to fight back. However, her father stops her, saying that she cannot attack other people, and helps her maintain control. Yayan is surprised as she could not imagine that zombies were capable of understanding other people. Even so, she still believes that the girl is dangerous and tries to attack her until Mrs. Kim steps in and tells them to stop fighting as she has other problems to solve. With everyone inside the house, Kim reveals that during the town meeting, the representative talked about the school needing new students. For this reason, he insisted that Kim enroll her granddaughter in high school. And amid heavy drinking during the meeting, the old woman ended up agreeing. Now they must take Sua to school. Otherwise, the representative will come personally to pick up the girl. With no other choice, Young agrees and Yayan decides to test the girl by being her teacher at school to prove that zombies cannot live with other humans. However, Ing is confident that Sua will be able to maintain control. And if he is right, Yayan must promise to keep it a secret. Finally, the next morning, Kim prepares Sua for her first day of school. And upon arriving in the classroom, the teacher introduces the girl to her classmates. After class, Yayan takes the class to the school field so they can have fun playing basketball. While playing, the ball ends up at Sui's feet, who takes it back to her classmates as if asking to play with them. The girls accept and challenge the newcomer to play basketball with the teacher's help. To make sure nothing happens, Yayan agrees and the game begins. But in the middle of the game, the teacher is frightened to think that Sua might attack her along with her students. Because of this, when she tries to pass the ball to the girl, Yayan throws it too hard and hits Sua in the middle of her face. Young sees everything from afar and runs to help his daughter, whose face is completely twisted from the blow. He then takes her to Dong so he can help repair Sui's face, and after many attempts, the girl returns to normal. Shortly after, the teacher appears apologizing for what happened, and even brings a bag of apples to give to Sui at the request of her classmates. Young is happy with the gesture, and invites Yayan to have dinner together at the restaurant. During the conversation, she reveals that she feels a little jealous of Sua because despite her condition, her father did not give up on her, unlike Yayan, who out of fear ended up eliminating her infected fiancé. This makes her rethink everything about the zombies, and she begins to believe that there is still humanity within them. The date continues, and in the meantime, Mrs. Kim continues to take care of Sua when she receives an unexpected visit from Lee, her ex-in-law. After all these years, the man returned to the city after seeing a video of his daughter recorded at the amusement park. It didn't take long for people to notice something wrong with the girl, and videos began to go viral, claiming that she was infected. Because of this, Lee came to see how his daughter was doing and intends to take her away. Mrs. Kim is enraged by the man and tries to chase him out of the house with her cane. But Lee easily defeats her and takes his daughter to his car with her arms and legs tied. Clueless about what's going on, Young says goodbye to Yayan and calls his mom, who tells him about Lee's unexpected visit. Young then runs after the guy and takes a shortcut through the woods until he sees his ex-Roinlaw's car speeding down the road. He then runs towards him, but ends up slipping and sliding through the forest until he falls in the middle of the road. Lee continues to speed up the car while talking on the phone, but Young stands in front of the road and narrowly avoids being run over by Lee. Recognizing his brother-in-law, the man goes to talk to him, but Young is too angry at his attitude and responds with a punch to the lunatic's face. After this blow, he goes to help Sua break free, but Lee gets up and hits him with a bat. The two start a fight, and Young says he has no right to come after Sui after abandoning her after Hai's punishment. However, the man accuses Young of being responsible for his sister's perishment, as well as allowing Sua to be infected. This only provokes Young's fury, who knocks the madman down with another punch and begins to attack him on the ground. Finally, Lee surrenders, saying that his goal was to hand Sui over to the authorities and receive the reward. And he even offers part of the money to his former brother-in-law. Young is shocked by the man's attitude and refuses. But in a moment of carelessness, Lee bites his hand and knocks him down on the road. He then begins to attack Young, but this arouses Sui's anger, who runs towards her father and bites his throat. Young quickly tells his daughter not to do that, but it's too late, and the man begins to be affected by the pathogen. Upon becoming a zombie, he attacks Young, who, armed with a bat, knocks him down with a blow to the head. Hours later, Young takes his daughter back home and reveals everything that happened to his mother. Seeing that the girl will be a danger to herself and the other residents of the city, he decides to flee with Sua in search of an isolated place. However, Mrs. Kim also intends to follow them along with Meow Meow and begins to pack her bags. Young is happy with his mother's attitude, but before they leave, he asks Mrs. Kim to deliver a letter he wrote to Yayan. Mrs. Kim agrees, and on the way, she meets the teacher who offers her a ride in her car. On the way, she decides to deliver the letter to Yayan. But at that very moment, several military trucks pass by on the road, heading towards the neighborhood where Kim lives. Fearing the worst, she tries to call her son, but he does not answer her calls. Mrs. Kim then opens the envelope and discovers that the message was a farewell from Young, saying that he left alone with Sua so as not to risk the lives of his mother, Dongbei or Yayan. Far away, Ing and Su are in the old house near the port, planning to escape by boat. However, the entire area begins to be surrounded by the U.S. Army, who have managed to locate the girl and demand that her father hand her over. Young refuses and tries to lock all the doors, but it is only a matter of time before they manage to break in. He then tries to reason with the soldiers, asking them to spare Sui's life, but they refuse and give one last warning before storming the place. With nowhere to run, Young goes to talk to Sui and asks his daughter to infect him too, as he wants to be by her side until the end. The girl refuses, but her father hugs her. And at his request, Sui accepts and bites his neck. Finally, the soldiers invade the place. And without hesitation, they aim their guns at the two and shoot Young, hitting him in the chest. Then it's Sui's turn to be shot, but when she sees Young lying on the ground, she says "Daddy" in front of all the soldiers. She tries to help her father, but Young's injury is serious and he loses consciousness. Like a human, Sua cries when she sees her father losing his life in her arms and screams for him. Unable to do anything, and both are taken away by the army. Days later, Sua wakes up in a hospital bed where she finds Dongbei, Yayan, and Kim alongside the doctors. The girl realizes that she has returned to her normal form and asks what happened to her father. As soon as Sui is able to get up, Mrs. Kim takes her to another room where they find Young lying in bed in a coma. Mrs. Kim explains that according to the doctors, they were able to develop a cure for the pathogen thanks to Young's blood. It is then revealed that during his training with Soer, Young was bitten a few times, but the pathogen spread in small amounts. Thanks to this, his body developed antibodies which were used to develop a cure for Sui. In addition, Young's body is slowly healing, but they cannot predict if he will ever come out of his coma. After explaining everything, Mrs. Kim also gives Sua her father's diary, which he wrote to keep track of the entire training process alongside his daughter. All of this moves Sua, and she approaches Young's bed asking him to wake up. While waiting for that day, Sua continues her life with her grandmother and enrolls in school, where she joins a dance group and performs to the sound of her favorite song. Her grandmother goes to watch the show alongside Dong and Yayan, who records everything on her cell phone camera to show Young. After the performance, Yayan returns to the hospital and plays the video next to Young, who remains unconscious in his bed. However, upon hearing Sui's favorite song, Young's finger begins to move to the rhythm. After witnessing a father's efforts to save his daughter, the townspeople, especially Yayan, Hope that Ing will wake up soon and be able to dance once again alongside the one he loves most. So, what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below. And if you liked the video, like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you next time.